Time for another two women talking. Maybe I just dropped into numbers because we're talking Doctor Who, and it is a two women talking with a guy, and it's a very special guy. This is a Three Doctors episode, and the gent that started this all, Cordonis, whose real life name is Julian, is joining us for this TWT with G. How are you, Cordonis / Julian? People are like, what's his name? Cool. Call him Cordonis if you want. We're going to call him Julian because we're talking. How are you, sir?
I am doing very well. Very happy to be here.
All right. And Eileen is back again because Eileen is sort of a new super Doctor Who fan. Hello, Eileen.
Hello.
All right. So the reason this is special and the reason I wanted Julian on is we had this we were circling around each other about our opinions of Doctor Who. And it turns out that we have very, very similar, quote unquote, unpopular takes. And so you have been warned about that. Part of the reason I wanted to do it is to sort of shift the narrative from the dominant thing online. So let's start. Julian, you're the guest. So we're going to go our favorite parts. We're focusing on the 15th Doctor because it's new. Your favorite parts of these last two seasons plus Christmas special, and your least favorite parts.
Oh, one of my favorite parts was definitely Lux. That whole thing with the God of Light and a living cartoon. Mwah, beautiful.
You're trying to make me sing, right?
Maybe.
Don't make me laugh. Yeah. Okay. Least favorite?
I actually have two least favorites. The Moffat episode with the mine and the first time we meet Verada. So many people love it. That was a mid episode for me. And I didn't like a lot of the Christmas special just because it felt flat story-wise.
The one in the hotel?
Yeah, the one in the hotel, the one with the Star of Bethlehem, Joy to the World. It just felt like it fell flat.
Right. It's funny. I completely memory hold the mine episode. That's really funny. Eileen, most favorite, least favorite parts?
Most favorite, it's definitely the musical beats in this season, of which Lots was the highlight. But there was also last season with the Beatles theme episode in the 60s. That was amazing. I want more musical numbers in Doctor Who in general. This whole mythology tied to music, just chef kiss that feels for me.
Yeah, that was the one with Jinx Monsoon as the guest star, right? The God of Music. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was a great one.
Least favorite, it's going to be the Mines episode.
You too.
We all joke about it. It was weird in not sadly in a Doctor Who kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And also bits of the Christmas episode. One, because it was sort of more Christmassy than usual. I know it's weird to complain about that in a Christmas episode, but the Star of Bethlehem, that was like that was like a tad too much. And also, I was hoping to see Nicola Colhan, I believe is her last name, in pop up something else eventually. Obviously now we can, so I'm kind of salty about it.
It's funny.
That was my best, my worst.
Funny how you guys didn't like both the Moffat scripts.
Funny.
I wonder why.
Yeah, that may be a common denominator. So for me, my favorite part of 15's run was the really great one-shot sci-fi episodes. 73 Yards, Dot and Bubble, Lux. The one-shots were so good. And for me, because Doctor Who is predominantly, I think, a character study. instead of something with a clear plot and a problem to solve. Those one shots I thought were, I know that that was what people didn't like about 13's run, that they went back to more of those. But I thought in 15, because they had those runners at the end, it was just really, really good. It was nice to see a contained story in 40 minutes to an hour. My least favorite part was, I don't know how to say this. It did all feel very rushed, and I know that the doctor running is a motif, but it did feel like, much like 13's last series, they had 15 episodes of story jammed into 10 episodes. And I'm sure we'll get into that as we move along. But first, does anybody feel strongly about going first on their take of the 15th Doctor? Because I have like a whole essay prepared and I don't. Okay, Julian's laughing. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, let Julian go first.
Okay.
I just loved him. It was great because we finally, from my perspective, we got a doctor who was your friend. He was your friend, that your bestie that you made in college and that you kept. And it was just such a departure too, because this was the first doctor that I can remember that cried because he was feeling things. He was having emotions. Something amazing and scary would happen and he could cry, or he could show fear. And so many people want them to go back to a stoic doctor that shows nothing. And I'm just, no, they all in their way showed something. They showed some sort of fear. They showed some sort of emotion. Maybe not in modern standards, but they all showed something. So my take was he was great. He was a breath of fresh air that we hadn't had for a while. We went from a gloomy doctor in Eccleston in 9 to a more heroic but still depressed and gloomy doctor in 10 to, I really still have a hard time quantifying 11. Man-child comes to mind.
I hear 11 called the autistic doctor.
I can see some traits, but maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I can see some traits, but I wouldn't call him the autistic doctor. I'm still not sure how to quantify him. And then you have asshole 12.
You know how to quantify him.
And I liked 12. I like Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
I have championed his seasons. He was still an asshole.
Yeah. Something, it's just an observation. It's not a judgment. Yeah.
And then 13 was another breath of fresh air. It just keeps. I realize I'm quantifying all the doctors, but I'm just trying to set up that 15 for me was such a breath of a change. Here was somebody that was trying to be your best friend. He wasn't trying to be enigmatic as much anymore. He was basically trying to be a healthy person, and it was just so nice to see.
Yeah, and Eileen hasn't seen much of 13, so we'll go easy on that one. But Eileen, what's your take on 15?
Okay, this is going to surprise absolutely no one. I love 15. Like, number one, he brought me about to Doctor Who. I started with 11 when they were on Netflix. Then I went back to 10, to David Tennant, went back all the way to 9. I did not like 9. And then eventually the last season of 11 came out long, and he regenerated. I cried all the tears. And then Capaldi came. I remember I watched maybe a couple episodes and then fell off for all the reasons.
Most people. Yeah.
Yeah, for all the reasons Julie said. I fell off the fandom. So I was in the dark. I missed 13 entirely, which I now regret because she's awesome. And then I knew Tenant came back with the anniversary and the specials, but it wasn't until 15 came that I started watching back. Thanks to Julian, by the way. He made me come back to the fandom. He made me enjoy Doctor Who again precisely because he is the Doctor that I always imagine. He's a friend.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me a lot of, he's like a combination of the new Doctors with the best of the classic Doctors, like the Fourth Doctor or in some ways, the First Doctor when he goes like extra hard. Which I now know, thanks to Julian as well. He's been showing me classic episodes of Doctor Who. So I like that he is kind, he is caring, he's a friend to not just his companion, but to everyone he comes like, girls.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to the companions, yeah, I think that, I mean, the final line, the regeneration line, is always sort of a cap off, right? Which is why they were so intent on, after they were worried 13 wouldn't get to regenerate, they abbreviated things because they don't have a renewal when we're recording this by the time it releases. Maybe they will, who knows, fingers crossed, probably not. But I do think that this Doctor was defined by joy being a choice. There are a lot of ups, there are a lot of downs. Some people were a little confused by that. It's been an absolute joy line. I think that was, this Doctor is choosing to be happy after an entire run of who the hell am I, followed by, gloomy, grouchy, kind of I would argue, I know they say 12 was a Doctor at the height of his powers, but he messed up worse than anybody. And did one companion survive 12's run? I guess Nardole
Technically,
technically did.
Nardole.
Yeah,
Technically,
but everybody else, big body count. So, how is that the Doctor at the height of his powers? Ask the fandom. More on that later. I want to get to the companions now, because this is where I thought this show did really well. I'm going to get on my soapbox right now and say the thing I love most about Russell T Davies writing Doctor Who is that every companion has been utterly different from each other. Rose, that I know Rose is super divisive in the fandom, but she was her own
she
person.
is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
Rose is really, really, really divisive. Martha was very different from Rose. Martha took a while to get to know. I ended up liking Martha after she stopped being a companion, but I still got there. Then, of course, there's our beloved Donna. Who is Donna? There is no other
She's
Donna.
Queen, best companion.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's where I thought Davies really shone with Ruby and Belinda, because they are not Donna. And it would be really easy to just go back to that kind of smart alecky, tons of energy, very kind of working class charm. But Ruby is somebody who, she is a real gem of a person. She's defined by her kindness. Belinda is not. And I'm going to spare my thoughts on Belinda until we get to you guys. But, suffice it to say, they are very different women with very different journeys. And that's true of all five of the RTD companions, which is quite a feat if you know anything about writing for television. So, Eileen, let's start with you here. What did you think of Ruby and Belinda?
Uh, I'm I'm also I'm super happy that one, yes, these are companions and they are drastically different from one another. Two, these are women that feel written as complete women as opposed to five personality traits in a trench coat that they are called women. Yeah, and I'm talking about specifically someone, but that's for later maybe. But also, I really like it when TV shows can make me empathize with someone who is drastically different than me,
Mhm.
such as Belinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a vacuum, if you tell me uh, the character traits, how Belinda ends up, I will say, no, thank you. That's my personal hell.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but when I see her, and because I've been seeing her all throughout the season, I like Belinda. She might not be the type of woman I typically like on TV, but the show made me empathize with her in a way that most shows fail
Yeah.
with the characters. Ruby is an instant like for me. Ruby is like barely the closest I would be if I were to travel with the
Yeah,
doctor.
she's the phrase I got from you, a cinnamon bun of a
Yes,
character. Yeah, she is.
yes.
What perfect casting. Like perfect casting for Ruby. Yeah, complete just lovely lovely person. Okay, and this is why I wanted to make sure we had a guy on Two Women Talking with this one. Julian, what did you think of Ruby and Belinda?
Well, Ruby, I was very happy with. There was a lot of concern that it was going to be another Rose because, clearly blonde hair means you're the same character. Obviously, there's
Those are
people.
the rules.
Because Amy
Yeah.
and Donna were so similar and they were both redheads.
Well, exactly. See,
Right.
it's the same thing. You could interchange the actresses. You wouldn't notice. But no, Ruby was really good to me. In my head, she always came across to me as this kind, warm, bubbly person that you meet in college or university. And, the type that comes into class and has warm greetings for everybody, there's no trace of snobbiness, nothing. She's just a wonderful, kind friend. And what I saw through the whole season was just her wanting to obviously figure out what was going on with her mom, but they didn't play that as she was going to force that on the doctor. She wasn't trying to manipulate him. She genuinely had a good time and made a friend. So I loved what she was doing. Belinda, it took me until Lux to warm up to her because I watched the classics. So when I found out that Belinda is a companion that does not want to be there at all, my first thought was, oh God, they're doing Tegan from the Fifth Doctor era. Oh God, no. They didn't do that well.
Yeah.
And Lux changed my mind because in Lux, she finally admits she trusts the doctor. When she realizes it's the 1955, she's very excited to try the wardrobes. And even though she's continuing on that, I need to get home. You're supposed to get me home. For frig's sakes, why haven't you gotten me home? She's still having a good time. She is not screaming at the doctor that he's an idiot 99% of the time.
Right.
She's not deriding the TARDIS. She is still having the adventures. She is still eventually enjoying herself. I do think she came across to me a little cold in some areas, mainly towards the doctor again. I really felt like she came across very cold, but sometimes it's good to kind of smack him on the head and say, okay, wake up, focus on what's happening right now. So overall enjoyed her.
Yeah, I think you had to do Ruby first, Belinda second, precisely for all the reasons you outlined, Julian, because I did think it was a big tell. I noticed that Miss Independent, I don't need no man, working girl is really, really happy in 1955 and just kind of goes, oh, well, we're encountered by racism. And that I was like, oh, that's a real deviation from Doctor Who. Even with Capaldi, they went full on, like he punched a dude in the face for being historically accurate racist, right?
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I thought, retroactively at first I'm like, oh, this is an interesting character point. And in retrospect, it was kind of deliberate. Like Belinda's very complex. Belinda might be the most complex companion ever, just because her I don't want to be here, I think, was her whole life, right? We finally have a doctor who fixes things for people again, which you could say 13 did as well. But 15, it is very clear. I think it's interesting that 15's first companion is doesn't know something about her past, the theory that they regenerate and sort of find something past based on past incarnations. A black man helping a blonde lady find out about her past was a nice touch.
Mm.
But yeah, Ruby just needed that one thing to fall into place. She kind of was overall content with her life. She just had this missing piece. Whereas Belinda is not happy and has this sort of seething resentment with everything. And I think that the I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I need to get home, I need to get home. That was just, you see her in the hospital. She could have just left treating that patient, but she did have that nurturing instinct that she didn't want to admit was there. And so to me, Belinda's whole arc, where the doctor just literally had to shift all of time so that she could be happy. Like, I don't think any companion has gotten a complete do-over the way Belinda did. I mean, Rose got alternate reality so she could be happy, but kind of happy. But Belinda just, it was almost like Belinda was on a really dark path and was kind of hopeless until she met the doctor. And there's a poignancy there in an age where they knew Doctor Who was going to, the TARDIS was going to land in this massive culture war, right? With no Christmas armistice. I know I'm calling back to a 12 episode there, but they knew it was going to land. What a gutsy move to do a companion in 2025 who was happiest being a mom. I mean, I thought that was wow, especially with Donna being so dating disasterly. And we all loved her for that, and it didn't have the dysfunction of the pawns. Oh God. And that never got better. It Julian's laughing. It was just a woman who did sort of have a secret 1950s sensibility. And the moment where she was willing to, after calling ex-boyfriend, Planet of the Incels in episode 1, she was willing to give all of reality over to Conrad, who ostensibly is worse, so she could keep her dream baby. And that, I gasped when that happened, because retroactively it's totally in character. And that's, Belinda is where I think that choosing joy is so embedded in 15, because there was a lot of tragedy in Ruby's life, but they chose joy together. Belinda was sort of a pain in the butt, and yet he chose to remember her fondly, even though he was forced into a heteronormative relationship. Wow, that was a lot. As we shift into the plots, wow, that was the best segue I've ever done. No, I'm kidding. As we shift into the plots, let's start with, that was very contentious for me. That was hard to watch. After gayest doctor ever, and that's saying a lot.
Oh,
having
I know.
Rogue profess his love. We'll talk about Rogue in a bit, I think. But that plot where they were forced into heteronormativity by, I'm going to come right out and say it, like a MAGA or UKIP style, traditionalist, one would even say, supremacist, homophobe, transphobe. What's her name? Didn't even exist. Well, her name was Rose too, wasn't she? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
To be forced into that, I was horrified, and I think you were supposed to be. What did you guys think?
You go, Julian. You go.
Okay. Oh, you were 100% supposed to be horrified by that. That is a disgusting world. Uh, you don't you don't see the disabled. You don't think that they have anything to offer the world. You there's
They made Mel a housewife.
well, they made Mel a housewife, and then she's going to sit at home and think in quiet contemplation. And I'm like, of what ways to like throw atom bombs at you? Because what the heck?
Yeah.
Why can't she do things? Like what? So I'm watching all this, going like, oh God, if the doctor doesn't take care of Conrad, he's. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He was going to be locked in a cell, just as the doctor predicted. He was going to die in his 40s of a heart attack. And I'm pretty sure that there was going to be a machine there that was just going to kick him in the balls for like 30 years. And it would be completely deserved.
Right.
It was disgusting.
Which is why Ruby's the best person on the planet.